Take another example of religion. The history of religion as being an instrument of the owning class in this and almost every other society is so well established, so well documented, that one need not dwell on that too much. In almost every country, the religious leaders are aligned with the business leaders. The cardinals, with some few dramatic exceptions, do not sit with the poor, they dine with the rich. They do not live in huts, they live in palaces. And so it is with most of the churches. The Protestant evangelical churches, some of them, not all of them, are being conscientiously used now in places like Honduras and Salvador to preach an anti-communist, right-wing status quo line. To tell you not to struggle in this world, but to wait for the blessings of the next. To agitate against the powers that be is to propagate a godless communism. That's the line. I'm going to say something else about religion, though, and that is that, again, in all these cultural institutions, there's something else that's also going on at the same time. There are lawyers who decide not to work for the corporations, but to work for the poor, who become Ralph Nader-type lawyers or public interest group lawyers or William Kunstlers, who live on less but do more. There are doctors who decide not to serve the rich, but to heal the sick, not to become self-enriching, but to heal the sick. And there are artists who do use their art in whatever limited areas and limited opportunities they can for the purposes of liberation, for the purposes of reaching into real human and social issues. And there are religious people who move and take the word of God to mean not to sup with the rich and powerful, but to actually live with the poor and humble and to become purveyors of a liberation theology, as you know. In fact, the church has become an instrument, a social force in countries like Guatemala, Nicaragua, where the church in Nicaragua is split right down the middle, with the upper clergy siding with the Contras and the Reaganites and the counter-revolution, and the lower clergy siding with the mass of the campesinos and people and workers. In the Philippines, where you've got a great cardinal with a great name, Cardinal Sin, which I think is the best. There's a venial sin and cardinal sin, we always learn. And where the church, again, operated as a real instrument for democratic forces, and still operates that way for democratic forces in that society, if not necessarily for revolutionary forces, but certainly democratic forces, including Mrs. Aquino, who comes from a Catholic background, who's also very rich, but who may turn out to have a few surprises before the CIA is through with her.